Hi everyone, welcome to My Rising Rose, where we channel dragons, goddesses, gods, and these types of interdimensional beings in order to expand our consciousness and unify ourselves with the cosmos that we all are, while also remaining grounded and ordinary and moral in our humanity. Now that morality is the part that I'm going to be talking about today, and I'm going to be doing a dragon channeling about that. I'm going to be channeling Gorkorith, the black dragon of the rising rose, to address a certain issue that has arisen. And I'm just going to talk about that a little bit first and link this to some of the other topics that I've spoken about. So sometimes when we start out in spirituality, for some of us, we really want to rush ahead. We want to create an identity for ourselves as some spiritual person, and we want to do all the things that we see other people doing before we're actually mature enough to do that ourselves. And I relate to that because that's how I've been along my journey. Early on in my journey, I thought that I had these big experiences, but I was not at all grounded enough in my humanity to be able to actually teach at all. And if I had started teaching at that very early time, it would have been an absolute disaster. Thankfully, my own teacher basically told me, you are not ready to do this. You should not do this. And after there was a period of time where I disconnected with her because I thought, I basically thought I knew more than she did, and that I was, super evolved and stuff, and went on my way. But I saw that it wasn't working, and I kind of collapsed in on myself. And that was what brought about the dark night of the soul for me. So then, after a little while of kind of being in this really negative, dark place, eventually with my tail between my legs, I returned to her, and she very kindly supported me through that and helped me to become a grounded, mature person who's actually able to do this kind of spiritual work now, which, I didn't want to do. I wanted to become a psychologist. Like, I was looking up psychology jobs because I wanted to just sit behind a desk and have some manager tell me what to do and have all the security and the peace of mind that comes from that. Like, that's what I was looking for. And I was really dragged kicking and screaming through a lot of my fears to become who I am now, who you see before you. And it took years to do all of that stuff. And one of the things that's happened recently is that somebody came to one of my in-person events, and I think they saw me there, like, being looked at and being admired, and being spoken of very highly by leading people in this community that they were a part of. I think they saw all of that and they thought, I want a piece of that for me. I want that. Like, that looks really attractive. And rather than go through the 10 years of like deep inner work and personal maturing that's necessary to actually, honorably hold that seat that I was in, they've basically just decided that they can do everything that I can do. And they've started completely imitating me. And just copying everything that I'm doing and claiming to be a channel for the dragons of the rising rose. Initially, I was trying to be very kind to this person and be patient with them and try to be supportive and encourage them to find their own path. You know, because the dragons of the rising rose is something that's very specific to me. Like, they're not meant to be channeled by anybody else. It's a very, very specific relationship that evolved authentically on my own. It happened over years of developing it, and involved some really significant moments in my life that are very, very closely connected to my real heart and soul and my calling in this life. They were never meant to be channeled by anybody else. But this person has just taken that for themselves. As I say, what I realize in having gone through this experience is that I avoided a potential conflict situation and just kind of gave this person the access to my soul, really. Just allowed them to take what does not belong to them, because the conflict seemed too difficult to step into, to really tell this person how I truly felt inside. And so instead I deluded myself and convinced myself that the right thing to do was to just support this person in what they were doing. Eventually, after seeing warning signs and hearing from other people, different warning signs, people close to me and the way that they'd seen this person behave, that wearing my teachings like jewelry was one of the phrases that someone very close to me used to describe this person. And honestly, I felt kind of flattered by that, like flattered that this person was taking such an interest in me and my way of doing things. But unfortunately, the reality of it is that it's a total distortion, and like a theft of the work that I'm doing to aggrandize his own ego. He's someone who comes across as a very nice person. I've never heard him talking about his shadow in any way, but typically these nice guys tend to be very deceptive. The nice guy thing is a mask that people wear, and I know this well because I've worn that mask myself. And they wear that mask so that they can seem like they're a really good and moral person, but really it's about power. It's about manipulation. So nice guys are, you really need to be careful around nice guys, because as I learned, when I approached this person eventually, after I saw that they were kind of trying to get closer and closer to me, like kind of take more and more from me, and using the dragons to get that. So they would be putting out these channeled videos where they were channeling a dragon, but using the dragon to get what they want. So they're channeling the dragon, so apparently the dragon is saying all this stuff, but really, of course, it's a distortion because the channel isn't clean. And using the dragon to say things like, Jack is of the dark and I am of the light, like we're two sides of the same thing. Like he's just seen me up on the stage, and then he's just got his own chair and kind of just put it up next to mine and sat himself down there, and he's like, yeah, here I am. There we go. Done. And I'm like, I can't let you get away with that. That's just too far. That's too far now. So I sent him a message just saying, you can't do this. Like, I don't endorse what you're doing. You need to stop this. Like, you're not mature enough to do this. You need to do a lot of inner work on yourself, all that kind of stuff. He immediately kicked me out of a group that he had invited me into without saying anything, just kicked me out. And then a few days later, wrote one of the nastiest messages that anybody has ever sent to me. And it was just pure hate. And it was wrapped up in this sort of slimy veneer of being this nice, noble, moral person. It was all about how moral he is and how awful I am, bearing in mind that I had been up until that point this sort of superstar to him and like really put on a pedestal. Now apparently I'm like the worst person in the world. Like I'm the worst teacher ever, and he's like, disgusted by the way that I teach. So that, it was shocking. I knew that it was already there, but it was still shocking. It's still shocking when someone reveals their unintegrated shadow like that. But I did see it for what it was when it came up. And then although it hurt, it didn't land too deep. And I was able to reply to him in quite a reasonable, grounded way, explained about my own past with my teacher, explained why, he shouldn't be doing this, and offered to support him. He didn't reply to this. And I've needed to put down some boundaries with him. Unfortunately, I think he is still, despite saying that he would stop channeling the Dragons of the Rising Rose, I think he is still doing that. So this video is just to share a little bit about my own inner process, and also it's a lesson for us all, right? Because just because someone's spiritual doesn't mean that they're a good person. In fact, good people, wholly good in all ways, do not exist. We are an integration of light and dark. We have good and bad aspects of ourselves. And we all just need to be aware that that's as true for spiritual people and people who are channeling as it is for everybody on the streets. That's true for everyone, right? So if someone is coming along and they're acting very nice and they're channeling beings, right, it can have this allure to it. It can make it seem like they're really genuine. But you need to be very, very vigilant when you're connecting with people like this. And have that same level of vigilance with me. Check me out, have a feel into it. And if you don't resonate, you don't like what I'm doing, then don't be a part of it, for yourself. And I just want to try to be as much of an open book as I possibly can, so that people can make their own honest opinions. I feel that what this guy is doing is the opposite of that. I feel that he's being deeply manipulative and deceitful. I think he's deceiving himself, and I think he's deceiving people who are following along with what he's doing. One of the reasons why he's being deceitful is note that the Dragons of the Rising Rose do not channel themselves through anyone except for me. We have a very specific connection. Like, that's not to say that no one can channel dragons. It's not to say that no one can, to channel anything. But the Dragons of the Rising Rose are something that happens exclusively, like channeled publicly. That's just within me. And it's really important that I share that, because some people are very deluded and some people are very deceptive. And just because someone's being kind doesn't mean that they aren't trying to take something from you. And I think that's the big thing that I've learned from this, that, because this guy was being very, very kind to me. He was saying a lot of really nice things about me. But I realize now that he was doing all of those things so that he could get close to me, so that he could take this from me. And that's what he's done. And I was working with Gorkoroth about this a couple of days ago, and what Gorkoroth said was, this person has stolen a part of your soul. They've stolen a part of your soul. And you've allowed it to happen because you think, because of that relationship you have with conflict, and because you don't think that you can kind of fight to get that back. But the reality is that I do want that back. And I'm going to have that back. I'm going to have my soul back. And you're going to have to go your own way. You're going to have to find your own soul, because you can't have mine. And this is a really important lesson for us all, right? Because this is like this huge confusion that happens within humanity. We give our souls away to other people because we don't realize what we're doing. And we just give away these little pieces of our souls to people. And then there's other people who take it, because they're like, yeah, I want that. Because they haven't found their own, right? But so we're all just kind of lost, wandering around, giving parts of ourselves away to other people, taking parts of other people into ourselves, and it creates these knots, energetic knots of souls. And that's what's creating this kind of blanket of ignorance within the collective human consciousness. So we all need to play our parts in returning the pieces that we've taken from other people, which of course I will have done as well. Generally we're not conscious that we're even doing this, but one of the practices that I do is I call in all the parts of my soul that are mine, and then I say, and I give back any parts of other people's souls that belong to them. So I call back all parts of my soul from others back to me, and I give back all parts of other people's souls to them, right? Give and take, just return it all. Everything in its right place. Everything just needs to be returned to its right place. So that's what's been going on. So if you see somebody else out there who claims to be channeling the dragons of the rising rose, know that they're either deluded or deceptive. I'll be doing another video about this at some point where I'll actually channel Gorkareth. I don't feel like today is the right time. Actually, I think this is better that it all just comes out from me and my own personality. Again, not what this guy was doing, who was just channeling the dragons to speak for him. So there's some warning signs, right? Let me tell you a few warning signs so that you're able to spot people more easily when they're being genuine or when they're being fake. So do they talk about their own problems? Do they talk about their own shadow? Are they actually able to authentically express the darker side of themselves? Can they do that? Because one of the things that these deceptive people will do is they will present themselves as only good. Only good. And you see it all the time. Like, there's really successful, famous people who do this. And if you know, when you realize that it's important to check for it, it's really easy, or at least it becomes a lot easier to find out who's genuine and who's fake. So are they able to just like authentically speak about the problems that they have as a human being? So basic, because some people, major teachers, they get asked questions about this and they will just give this kind of weird spiritual riddle to get out of it, because they can't actually do it. And it's the most basic thing that a spiritual teacher should be able to do, to be able to talk about their own shadows as a human being. Because if you can't do that, where are those shadows going to go? If you're hiding them and stuffing them away, where are they going to come out? If they can't come out in public, where are they going to come out? They're going to come out in private. It's why there's all these spiritual scandals, because there's these teachers who hide it all, right? So that's one of the ways to spot one of these people. Another way is if you notice that a lot of the things that they're channeling are really about them getting their own needs met. Like if they're channeling beings and like those beings are like speaking for them, like so that they get what they want as a human, like so that the human gets what the human wants, that's a warning sign that this could be an unclean channel. What I mean by that is they may have some genuine connection. They may not. They could be a total fraud. but they may have some genuine connection. I feel like this person has some genuine connection, which actually makes it even worse. It makes it even harder to do something about this, because when someone has a genuine connection, there's an aura, there's an energy that comes out from that, which can make it seem genuine, and people trust that. But what happens is that the distorted ego of that person will then use that as a tool to get what they want. So they'll put up this almost like a spiritual mask to confuse people and then suck the energy out of them. That's what this guy's been doing. I've had to do some energy work to try and restore my own spiritual health because of the harm that this guy's inflicted. And it's because of his shadow, his unintegrated shadow, which is, I could talk a lot about this, but it's linked to things that are much bigger than himself. We're all human beings are plugged into a much greater system of life, and there are great beings within those systems of life that use us in good and in bad ways. And I can sense that in him. I know that there are beings that are using him to drain the life force out of other people, and I'm one of the people that he's doing that to. He almost certainly is completely unaware of this, by the way, just to throw this out there. I'm not saying that he's doing some sort of dark rituals or anything. Hope not. So how else can you spot people like this? When someone's just too nice. Someone's just being super, super nice, and then you feel it in your gut and you're like, I don't trust this person. They're being really, really nice, but something about me really doesn't trust them. And then check in with other people. Ask yourself, ask other people what their experiences have been with this person. And that can be really, really validating as well. So that's where I'm at. It feels very good to share all this, I've been kind of sitting on this for a little while, and I haven't said anything, but actually part of my own authenticity is talking about these kinds of things publicly, and I think there's a lot of lessons for us all within it. So don't watch anyone else channeling the dragons of the rising rose. I don't know what they're channeling. I don't know what it is. The dragons have been very specific, and they're like, we don't channel through anyone else. So I don't know what it is that this guy's channeling. He just seems very confused, and I have sympathy for him. I've tried to help him, but at this point, I'm not going to try anymore. Now all that's necessary is for him to relinquish the energies that he's taken from me and return them to me, and then he can discover his own life. He can discover his own soul, he can discover his own abilities, he can discover his own journey. And when he's mature enough, he can share that with other people, because I do see that potential in him, but it's a long way off. It's absolutely, definitely not now, and I actually think that he's a danger to himself and others. So, you're free to make your own choices. You do what you want to do. My advice is to stay well clear of this person. If you hear of anybody else doing it, please let me know. Oh man, it's a weird life. I never thought that anybody would do this. It's a very, very strange thing. But there you go. So if you're tempted to start channeling the dragons of the rising rose publicly, don't do it. You're deceiving yourself and you're deceiving others. Find your own path, find your own way. There'll be plenty of beings there connected to you that you can form relationships with and do something authentic with. Don't just copy other people. That's not the way of the soul. The soul doesn't just replicate what it's seen in other people. That's classic kind of, that's what the conditioned mind does. If something's authentic and it's come from the soul, it has a different quality to it. It's a completely different thing. So I hope this message finds you well, and I look forward to sharing some more channeled messages with you soon. Bye bye for now.